Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Tarot Tuesday video. We are actually filming this on Sunday, the 13th. So perhaps there's some things that are going to develop from when we're filming now to Tuesday. But with this bubble of awareness we have now, we want to bring to you a reading for the collective. We're going to do some readings about some of the hot topic situations of the world. And welcome to today. So, Jenny, what deck are you going to be bringing? What deck are you going to show us today? What are
Hi
we starting with?
everybody. Happy Sunday
Yeah.
on Tuesday. So we're actually speaking to you from the past
Mm-hmm.
on this day. Which I actually think is going to be kind of cool if we could find a way to like predict something that happens between now and then. That could
That's a
be
good
cool.
point. We should try that.
Um we should just like a little segment just to see if we were right about something.
Okay.
Um, so to answer your question, I'm using today the family. It's called the family.
Okay.
And this is a really interesting deck. This was gifted to me by none other than Heidi Vandenberg from Channel 27. I used to work with her over on that channel. She's a Vedic astrologer. She sent me this deck. This is really cool because it's actually a compilation of like every single card is a different artist
Ah,
and they all got together to make this deck. And I love it. And then I'm also going to supplement the traditional tarot with a deck that I made myself. So these are just like my own messages and signals and stuff like that. So what do you got?
I just got this from my mother-in-law, which made me think of you actually, this particular deck.
Luna. I love this.
You have this
Oh
one?
my god. No, but I
No, but
need
that
it.
makes me think about you.
Well, it's my daughter's name.
Luna Edition, the Ethereal
Isn't it
Visions
beautiful?
Tarot.
Oh my
It's very
goodness.
pretty. It's got lots of wonderful artwork. Here's the Queen of Cups, for example. She's got some,
Gorgeous.
we've got that
Very
sea life.
nautical.
Yep.
Hmm.
Kind of going off of our last video where we talked a lot about whales. I think we still got that ocean energy following us, and the world events and so on are involving oceanic areas. So we'll get into that. But let's do a reading now for a blind reading maybe for everyone, and then maybe we can do a predictive one, like what's to come. So people watching this video right now, we're going to shuffle for you and a message for you first.
My favorite meme that came out of the whole orca, uh, the pack of orcas, and then that was around the same time that the submarine, the submersible, and the billionaires. And there's a meme with a guy who's got a microphone in the orca's face, and he's like, "We don't know shit about the missing submarine."
And I agree. I agree.
They definitely say they had nothing to do with it. Don't involve the orcas. They want no part of our drama.
No,
All right.
they saw the drama and left.
Yeah, they're like, peace out. Message for the collective. There's a lot going on. We've got fires, we've got agendas, we've got weirdness.
Mhm.
Are you gonna pull one, two?
I got four.
Okay, all right. So I had one jump out, and so I'm gonna roll with that. Would you like to go first?
No, please go ahead.
Okay. So the one that jumped out was this faith card.
Ooh, that's nice. Is that water too or no?
No, so in this deck, the faith card is the same as the Hierophant.
Okay.
It's the Hierophant card. It's just like I said, this was a compilation from a bunch of eccentric artists, and they were really given carte blanche here to do whatever they wanted. And so this is synonymous with the Hierophant, which is like the religious orders, patriarchal orders, very traditional. I love the face you're making right now. You're
I'm
like,
just like,
"Hmm."
that's so good. Yeah, it makes sense.
And then we have the Ace of Pentacles, which
Oh,
is just super beautiful. we love our aces, and this has feature symbolism with the monarch butterflies, but they're free, which to me, anytime I see a monarch butterfly at this stage in the game, I just automatically equate it to anything pertaining to MK Ultra programming, the mass mind control, and almost a testament to where we are at collectively with that spell or that illusion.
Right.
What have you got?
Oh, great. So I was given 4 cards. I've got the 10 of Cups going on. So that was pretty cool. 10 of Cups is just, it's the end of the suit of the cups. It's the most enjoyable, I would say, emotional card, I would say, out of the group. So we're going to have some good family friendly love vibes. But after that, we have the Devil card. Man, this one is quite fancy. They really put that detail work in on Mr. Pan over here. But the theme of this card is the self-enslavement in a way to an idea or ideas that you think have sort of power over your spirit and over your life. And it also can talk about primal masculine energy, this like wild, untamed primal masculine energy. So just I've been getting this card a lot actually the last couple days, the last day. So it seems like this is coming up to be discussed, which is interesting because we can go into that whole even anti-Christic direction with that potentially. Like that theme is coming up a lot more. So mentioning that, then I have the Tower card. So there's probably a lot of moments where you're having like an ego death. You're having like something in your life that was supposed to work out, or a direction you thought you were going no longer working out. So if that energy is hitting you today, it's okay. Don't give your power over to it. See the silver lining in this change, because then the last thing is the Page of Swords we've got. So in a way, a messenger of wisdom and information that you're definitely going to want to use. So things may be falling apart because you found out about something and you don't want to participate in it anymore, which should lead you to a better life. So it's like better life while you're kind of overcoming maybe these towers and these experiences you've had with the devil or with temptation or with this self-enslavement seems to be kind of wrapping up. It's kind of what I was getting from that. So that was an interesting mix of cards for sure. I liked the Ace of Pentacles. That one's been coming up a lot too for me in the readings. So there's new money, new wealth, new opportunity coming through too. The end of this year is kind of setting itself up. August is setting itself up to like project into the last part of this year, the last part of the cycle, or what is that? The like last quarter of the year in the business world. So what we witnessed in Hawaii was potentially just in a very crude way, also evidence of that.
Yeah.
And your video and your discussion about it got taken down. You were just telling me on your own private video with your audience. So it is a touchy subject for sure, because even people there don't have the full story yet, or even we're getting proper internet or any access to even electricity still. And it's trickling today for sure. I'm getting more updates and people uploading things on TikTok and stuff about their particular perspective, but it's very crude and chaotic still. So I was hoping we could do a reading about that potentially. Did you do a reading about that on your video that got taken down?
So I did a reading for it last night, and I just pulled 4 cards that, because when we talked about doing a reading for the collective, in my mind, I'm thinking the fires are definitely going to come up, because this is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so relevant, and it's right on the forefront of collective consciousness. And usually, at least for me in my experience, the cards reflect the big, what everybody's talking about, sort of the collective algorithm, if you will. The cards will just pick up on that as like a mirror image or a reflection.
Right.
And so I've got blockage, you guys, I don't know if you can see it, blockage,
Hmm.
the rune called Othala
Nice.
for heritage, possessions, ancestral wisdom, home, and culture. And
Nice.
then I know, and then we have transmutation and metamorphosis
Mhm.
and not made public and behind the scenes.
Wow. That's awesome.
Isn't that freaking wild? So something like, and please comment on this if it makes sense for you, but like being a diviner, working in divination all this time has really, I've come into this understanding that confirmation bias is like, it's so real. Like we
Yeah.
have these ideas about what is going on, and it is just far too easy to, interpret the cards in a very specific way due to that confirmation bias. So I'm very like, I pay close attention to that. I'm like, well, am I looking at this from a 40-foot thousand view, or am I like really in it, because I'm seeing what I want to see, or, making the pieces fit. So just if you've been reading long enough, or if you just are an intuitive person, you know that that is like a very heavy factor when it comes to being a card reader. Um,
But
but
when you're reading your own cards and you're like, oh yeah, this means this, and then someone's looking at you like, that's not what that card means to me. So you are confirming yourself. It's almost like brick walls. Like when someone really wants something, doesn't matter what the
oh,
cards say. Like
oh yeah.
they'll twist it. They're like, yeah, that's good. I've watched
Oh
it and
my,
I'm like, ooh, now I see why
oh
this is dangerous.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But something I did want to point out. So you're right. Like I did a show for my Patreon last night. It was my weekend edition live stream. I get to talk about, at least I thought I got to talk about whatever I wanted, and they took the video down for medical disinformation. However, I didn't talk about medical anything at all. We talked about the fires in Lahaina and the agenda for the 15-minute cities, directed energy weapons, and the use of them uh, to the, you know, to clear space, to push people out of their ancestral homes and to overtake that that cultural root that has, allowed these folks to maintain their foothold there. And
Right.
if but if the agenda is to, if they are meant to transmute and um create this new world for their agenda, they're going to end up taking a lot of places out in the same nature as Lahaina, unless something can be done. I don't know what can be done. There's probably people watching that have lots of great ideas.
Yeah.
And I think that it might really be coming down to how badly we want to keep the negative agenda at bay.
Mhm.
Um, it's rough.
Well, can you say that card stack you just got again one more time in order? Like,
Oh
so,
yeah. Blockage,
right.
blockage, the rune Othala
That
from
one
the,
was so good.
oh yeah, I use the Elder Futhark runes in this deck. I literally just like drew the shape, wrote the name, and then the keywords associated with it. Now, it's certainly a lot more involved than that traditionally, but it's 2023 and I make it work for me. Sorry, sorry, everybody. Sorry if you don't like it. I do it my way. And then I got the transmutation metamorphosis and not made public and behind the scenes, which, they're trying to keep the reality of the situation very much down to a bare minimum. We're seeing people, like you said, on TikTok and various platforms trying to tell us, they're like, this was not a hurricane, this wasn't an accident, this was a deliberate fire. This was a deliberate disaster. People are talking about thousands of bodies, and it's like, what? Like, I mean, we saw the same thing happen in Paradise, California. This is open combat, open genocide on the American people is perpetuated by some kind of governing power or some kind of organized, highly funded power. So, what are we going to do about that, you guys?
We would like that to stop, please.
Stop it. You
We're
people,
gonna
stop it.
stop that one. We're gonna stop the
Stop.
yes. It's good that the heritage thing was coming up because I was hearing in my mind was just like stolen land was over and over like stolen land. And I was just like, okay, who stole it from where? And it was like, well, it's got a complicated history, that particular part of the island. I guess that's where they came up onto the shores and like began that process there was right there, I guess. So, and that whole courthouse, and there's some goodies that were in there. So I was just waiting politely, like, okay, I'm going to wait and see what they say, what people are saying. But I'm seeing again a lot of the hysteric people who just popping out of nowhere to tell you how it is. And I'm just like, sorry, but I don't buy it. Your TikTok has too many views. I've seen people tell the
Right.
truth, and that's not necessarily what happens after they do so, online. And it was tricky because I had a huge euphoric day. Like I was having euphoria coming up out of my body. And then that's what we saw on the news. It was very weird. So I was like, something is happening and I'm very excited. And then I saw that and was like, this has to be good news. Like this has to be, because I was feeling so good. And then now it's like, oh, it's basically a genocide and all this. And I was just like, why did I feel so good about it? Why was the good feeling? Like, was there something happening here that we were being distracted with something over here, and like, was I happy about this intuitively, and like this is what I got to see? And I really hope there's some sort of like thing that shows up, like this happened while the fires were occurring and blah blah blah. Like, is they're gonna move the story along that way, perhaps? But there was also another fire that it reminded me of, which happened in Fort McMurray area, Alberta, Canada, around 2016. And again, the same thing and they did it once again in 2011 prior also, but it was just like streets and streets and streets, rows and rows of the houses, just the houses like decimated. And all those people had to come into the other cities, and they like took over the jobs, and we had to like house people and like feed them, and all the restaurants and waitresses were just giving the food and their service away for free to feed these families that just got their just house turned to ash.
Oh my
And
God.
that was the Canadian drama version. And then came down here 2019, I think, was the Paradise Fires. And I was right there when it was happening too. We were driving past them, didn't know
Oh my
that's what
God.
we were driving past. And we were just about to book our trip to go to that exact part of Maui. So we were like, okay, like what what are we doing? Like part of me is just like, why is this? Why? Oh, and also the Penticton, there was a Soyuz, I think it's how it's said, but again in Canada, just north of the border, they had a freak fire just a few days earlier, and I got woken up with that one too. Like I felt that one was coming, but I didn't know what was happening there. So there's this clearing going on, and I think there is then the religious factor comes in, and are you purging? What is the earth purging? What is being purged? What is being pulled up? And I think it's waking people up, which is good. Waking people up out of that, like maybe that island vibe too, where they were kind of passive, but had a lot of, I would say, undercurrents of issues, and
Oh
that they
yeah.
were struggling with a lot. And a lot of those people living there sounded like they were there kind of fighting the man and just like staying in their homes in that particular area, and they wanted to develop it. So I don't know. Something
So,
else is going to come to light about it, but maybe we should just do a blank prediction about what will happen on Tuesday to like see what'll happen for the world, what's going to be about that. What do you think? What do you want to move on to next?
well, I just wanted to say, because it's, you were mentioning that you felt this sense of euphoria, or
Yeah, out of the
some,
blue.
uh, that's weird because I felt the same on that same day.
Okay.
And for me, it was different. I was feeling euphoria because I had sort of called a stop to a toxic situation in my life,
Oh,
um, and
sweet.
absolutely had to kind of light my own fire in a way. And so there was such a sense of release and relief and all that going on. And when I did the card pull for, because I work with a man, some of you folks watching know Bix Weir from The Road to Ruda. Um, you guys probably know who he is, but I've worked with him a lot. And he had me pull some cards because his family has visited Lahaina for decades. Like that's like their spot that they go to.
Oh,
So he was
wow.
like, Jenny, look at this. So I pulled the cards. Oh, Alexis, you're frozen. Come back. Unfreeze. There you go. Okay. The cards actually implied that, and at the time I didn't know what was going on. Like we didn't know what we know now.
Yeah.
And it looked like there was some kind of a school, and that I use that term loosely, but it was like a location where children and young people were being trained, learning certain arts and developing certain skills. And the island was targeted in part due to that happening. And it was very much about I kept getting the Empress, which is, again, it's about land. It's also, there's something about this masculine principle and this feminine principle coming together in like an alchemical marriage, but that was working through the people of the island, or people were reconciling all kinds of, it could be spiritual, emotional, psychological differences that they've been dealing with in their culture,
True.
for a long time. But it looked as if, um, this actually was going to have somehow a beneficial effect. Now, how can we say that when there's thousands of people? They're reporting thousands of people dying. I don't think mainstream is reporting that at all, but the people on the ground are, and I believe the people on the ground. How can this equate to anything good in such tragedy? And I don't know. I can only speculate, but it appears that there may have been, it feels to me like there was almost some kind of a rescue mission, or some kind of a, while the fires were going on, there may have simultaneously been a rescue that takes place. That's really what I'm trying to get at. And I'm feeling like, that maybe the euphoria, the feeling of anticipation, the feeling of excitement, you know, there are a lot of things that can go on in a day, in a minute, in an hour on planet Earth at any
Yes.
given time. There's trillions and trillions, limitless, infinite experiences happening.
Right.
And so I think that there are good things happening on this planet, at the same time that there are atrocious things going on.
Interesting. I was not getting what you were getting, but I really enjoy that you told me that, because it's giving me a whole new perspective. Because again, that is definitely the main mission, is like find and rescue these people and these children, like big time. And so huge good on that. But I was also seeing, since they may have also burned a library in the courthouse, that some sort of contract got, like some sort of magic contract got literally burned. That's what I was being shown, like some
Um,
sort of like, the land grab stuff, like all these paperworks and stuff that they made the queen sign and stuff. It was kind of like that's over. And I was like, oh, okay, good. I was just hoping, like I was just sitting there like, okay, what's going on? Like somebody tell me something. It was just like,
um,
those contracts are crisped now, they're gone. And I was just like,
right.
ooh, but I kept seeing something underground also.
Underground.
So I was
Yes.
like, something's
Something
under
subterranean.
there. Yeah. But
Um,
I mean, gosh, the whole islands are completely, I feel like almost all of them are taken over by the modern
the military
militia.
owns it.
Yeah.
The military has occupied those islands and has such a strong foothold. It's so interesting to uh sort of compare, the natural forces of the world that were arguably sent underground by the Hierophant forces, if you will, kind of like
True.
when the Spanish and the white people, came, and there was war between the indigenous and the newcomers. And I'm not taking sides, so don't fucking come for me. I'm not talking shit. I'm just being honest. There were wars, right? And I think a lot of natural forces that, like, their part of their function on planet Earth is to defend the defenders, where like humans, literally the flora and the fauna, the tides, the wind, the everything. I think we really do share a truly like sentient, harmonious, synergistic relationship with it.
Mhm.
And that was something that was a lot more clearly understood by native and indigenous tribes. I'm not saying they were perfect. They were killing each other, they were sacrificing each other, all kinds of shit, whatever. Nobody's perfect. Again, don't fucking come for me. I'm just trying to talk about it. But I think that there are forces of nature that were sent, that were forgotten about, and they kind of require our acknowledgement of them at
Mhm.
times, where it's like, do you see that we see, do you see that we're family? Do you see, when you attempt as a whole to live without nature, or you think you're separate from nature, do you see what happens to you people when you fall so far from your symbiotic relationship with the flora and the fauna of this earth? Do you see yet, sort of thing? And so I wonder if, like, the islands, the tides, the sun and the moon, if they're going to just start fighting back and, protecting itself like an antibiotic, or something that comes in to attack a virus. So because I don't want anybody to think, oh, like, Jenny went woke on us and here she's bitching about colonizers. Like, I'm not. Like, there have been bad guys and good guys on all sides of the playing field. I'm not. So
True.
everybody just.
It's true. That's a good point also, that even though there's well-meaning people, there is always some sort of being in there that is the anomaly and is causing problems, but then the nice people are like trying to just ignore them.
Right.
Then
It's like,
they
yo, don't
cause
look
way
at
more
them. Don't
issue.
don't pay attention to them. Don't listen to that guy. He's crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Oh, he's just sick. Just let him sit over there. He's with us, but and then it's like, oh, homie did some
nobody likes that
damage.
guy.
Yeah,
Right.
I've gotten a few visions about that, and it's like, don't ignore that being. Just because you're
Yeah.
nice, don't ignore them. I was like, right, right, right. So keep track of that guy or gal, whatever. Always. Don't just give them the benefit of the doubt. But there is all that dynamic too, where it's like when the great good is showing up, then right next to it can be the great evil or something.
Has
It's
to
like
be.
they
Has to
can
be.
show together. And so I feel like if we're getting shows of these big, awful things, there must have been something equivalently good happening potentially. And
Absolutely.
I mean, I was having some really intense religious revelations almost in that time also, and thought that this was momentum towards that, and then saw the complexity. And then I got instant almost attacked as well, like back onto me, like, you can't behave this way. And all the messages coming through me was trust yourself. Like, you've trusted yourself and now you really know why you can trust yourself, was kind of the activation I got the last week. Was
Oh,
trust yourself. You've done it, you're doing it, and you know what to do. And that trust, I assume, is being, I want to say, deepened as well in those who did survive, because that's also a spiritual engagement. Like, I was just at the store and I was out of harm's way. Like, where are those stories? I'm sure we're going to see those come up too. Like, I was just
yeah.
out of town with my family and I missed this experience. And, that is development of that trust and of that alignment with the elements and with with the Holy Spirit, or with that ethereal side or a spiritual side of like being in the flow of life, and where you're supposed to go, you'll be there. And I've been feeling that a lot more, and also getting tested on that a lot more. But I think I've like built another level of strength, of trust in myself in this time. And to then boldly go on against and being like, well, and talk about such an inflammatory topic. It's tricky, but you can't not trust like this euphoria that you feel in your body. Like I was literally happy crying in the grocery store for no reason. Like I was just
Aw.
laughing, like, ha, 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 like tears. And I was just like, I don't know what's going on right now, but I'm feeling it. Like it's happening. So I'm not sure about that. Not sure what that is yet, but I'm excited, and I have hope for us in the springtime of North America also, that things are going to have that moment where we're going to have that potential crux or meeting point of that anti and Christ energy kind of rearing its head, which is kind of when they started the 2020 thing, was also that time of year, in that March, early springtime. So I was like, okay, that time matters. This upcoming spring is really now on my schedule of things to think about and work towards. And it's kind of going to carry me through, I feel like, the next few months of what is going to keep meeting the rising light and consciousness like as a challenge. And I'm prepared. Like I'm mentally, physically, I feel like I've done this lifetime. So it's like, okay, now that it's the finish line is getting really close, we're going to start
Mhm.
seeing the other side rear its ugly head more and more. And like I was telling you off screen, well, some man was asking his Alexa device, which I don't recommend anyone have. If I can say it out loud, I just have to speak my truth. Maybe don't have those in your house.
Right.
Just saying, if you have them, whatever, but it's meant to be. But I'm just like, if you don't do it, because I feel like that voice is going to keep antagonizing it. And that is kind of like the point of it, is to antagonize us. And which is good
Engage
if
us.
you trust yourself. What?
To engage us.
To engage us.
It wants to force us to engage in this psychic tether,
Right.
and sort of ground our energy into a synthetic network as opposed to the natural network. Um, Fascinating stuff. Like amazing. I just wanted to say, like,
Yeah.
I'm getting, so I have the not what it seems bigger picture, electrical power, solar, and internet. Then we've got some other stuff: father, son, brother, attraction and magnetism, white magic and protection.
Nice.
Um, you know, the idea is, so this, what this absolutely does is this has probably woken up. What it certainly has not done is put more people to sleep. This serves to remind people how serious this shit is,
Yes.
and that this is what we can expect to continue to happen unless there is some kind of unless we can reconcile this, unless we can push them back or work together, or what have you, or even just put our energy elsewhere. I have to say, I think that there are organized groups of powerful beings that we don't hear about much. We don't, they don't make headlines. They're not in the news, but they do work, and they're constantly active. They're constantly moving, and it is very much part of the negative agenda, or the dark agenda, to keep our attentions away from that. That there are good things happening in the world, and that there are organized groups of folks that are ooh, fake thunderstorm outside.
Oh
And I say
man.
fake thunderstorm because it's just like
I was gonna say organized groups of good people.
good people. No, there are, I mean, they're capable people, right? Because even good people are subject to make mistakes, and if they're human, they're imperfect naturally. But and a lot of it, I am really drawn to what's going on underground. I think that there are major subterranean activities taking place. Anybody right now can go to military.com. You can go back to 2017 or 2018, and we have the paper trail for the amount of money that they have put into training soldiers for subterranean warfare, namely beneath metropolitan areas. So we know, they don't put trillions of dollars or billions of dollars into just anything. You know what I mean? Like, talk to a soldier, an active duty soldier, National Guardsman right now, and they'll tell you that their gear is falling apart. Like, they don't get new shit. They don't get nice stuff. The average soldier or airman or sailor is suffering. They're struggling because all of that money is going into other things. So, I mean, is it for good? Is it for bad? I don't know. The cards seem to show a fair mix of both.
Yes.
Like, there's really amazing things happening, and there's really bad things that appear to happen, so that they can it's like it activates us. We don't know what we can do or what we're capable of until we're in hot water and we're like, oh shit, it's do or die. And I think, like you mentioned, as our consciousness rises, as our awareness crystallizes, I feel like knowledge really does change paradigms. What we know today changes us as a people as we integrate it into, within the individual, within small groups, and then larger groups. It grows. Knowledge really integrates itself within people, and over time changes the way that a collective behaves. And so I think, knowing what we know, we give this a few months, if we give this a few years, all of this counts. Everything counts. Every little bit of it counts to prepare people, to make people understand, to make people see, what kind of weaponry is being utilized against us. And I really believe that there is a principle, there's a law, the law of duality, the principle of duality. Ultimate good requires ultimate evil, and vice versa. The yin and the yang, the light and the dark. It has to be that way. So if they really think that they're going to take over planet Earth and open up a whole bunch of portals, either through people, through meridian points on the planet, or in the ocean, or in the sky, all that really tells us is that the exact opposite must happen. So if there is bad shit that comes through, then good shit's coming through too. And that's just law. That's just the way that it is. There has to be balance. That's just...
Yep. I feel that. And I think it's interesting you also got that father, son, brother card for sure. Was like, yeah, that's what I feel is very true.
Daddy's coming home.
Yeah. And that's why this is happening. But it's interesting, like the little whispers and the little information that maybe can protect you or can give you that, I would say, maybe motivation to mobilize, is if you know that you're living in an area that is desired by higher real estate and you're holding out. I would say, be careful about that behavior. Like, maybe not worth it. And if you're living in an area where they have really high, they have to pay their workers really high, but the jobs are running out or the work is now not there, that's another sign that they would do something in that area, is what I was seeing. So like, if you're living in a spot where that's kind of the vibe, perhaps move to somewhere where there's no specific drama, or move more closer to your more awakened friends, at least to where they are at, and team up and stay in cahoots with each other. Because I have my online diary where I basically will share whatever insights I'm getting and visions and stuff. And I follow people who do the same. And I've got a few of them in Hawaii because I've been seeing a lot of visions lately of the place already. And that was when the volcano started going off last year. That was when I was starting to get more information, and how the like islands were like changing shape, and the whales were involved. And that was a whole thing last year. And I was very excited. And but it continues. Like it seems to be a cauldron of a spot or a central point of evidence of like what is to happen on our planet. It seems to be a constant focal point when the solar flares are hitting us. Like I'm watching Hawaii get hit over and over and over. So I'm like, okay, well, clearly that's an interesting spot. I was nervous to even go there. And now I'm like, okay, maybe I don't need to go there at all. Still hands off of that area a little bit, but the pressure is being felt in other areas around the United States, North, South America in general. Obviously, everywhere in the East, there's a lot of those types of land grabs and things, and there's other disasters happening. A lot of flooding is going on, which was also coming through a lot before it kind of happened, was like, get on the boat. Like Noah's Ark is filling up. Like there is shifts happening. So just keep an eye on the weather. Like this was a hurricane thing that blew past Hawaii that they say did this, but I'm literally now seeing today that there's another low pressure storm coming in the same path right now. So by Tuesday, more stuff could be on fire or something. Like they would maybe continue doing this because other locations on the island are also on fire. Like there was multiple places.
Right. Like
And that's
what?
only just
And
one island. Like,
yeah.
and there's a few there. So I do want to predict and see like if we can see what's going to happen by Tuesday, like whatever we need to know by Tuesday.
Yeah. All right.
If
And
that's
so
okay.
of course, and maybe we'll, so that folks watching will be able to listen to our predictions and then go and be able to verify it and have like confirmation, like, oh, I'm gonna tune the prediction to like specific key words, key elements, so that folks are like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because really, like, a trillion things happen every
Yeah,
second of it.
it could be anything.
It could be anything. It literally is so huge. It's so massive. But specifically, maybe things that you guys will be hearing about, headlines, keywords, buzzwords, that sort of thing. Stand by, everybody. Oh, I got a jumper. I got a few jumpers. You're such a silent shuffler.
Good.
I'm
I'm
loud.
glad. I've just like been hitting it like, okay, this is really making me work for it. Like, what is it that we need to talk about now that it'll be relevant on Tuesday? There we go.
Isn't it funny how the card, it just knows, the cards just know. It's like like a lock, like on a locker. You remember like when we used to in school, you
Yes.
have your little locker and you listen for the click. It's ready when you hear that click. It's like, okay, cut her loose.
False.
She's ready. Yep. It falls. Yep.
Man, I'm
All
glad we
right. What
don't
do you
have to
have?
do that anymore. That was
What'd you
stressful.
get? What'd you get? Oh my God. I do not wish school again on my worst enemy.
No.
I can't. I hate this so much. My kids
Well,
happen
we
to
got
like it.
the star card for what we need to
Yay!
do. So that's excellent news. These cards are fun. She's
Those are so
awesome.
beautiful.
She's also a being who works with the waters as well. Not in this card, but that's how I remember her, is water and land related. So healing of the water and the land by Tuesday. So we've got a little bit more news cycle to happen until then. So I'm sure Monday's going to be interesting. But I am seeing a good theme overall of the people there, like showing up to be of support, which we were expecting. Like of any of the places, it makes sense that that place would do well in a disaster because they're also mostly prepared for some type of disaster because they live on a freaking volcano. So it's kind of like they're all kind of ready. And then that communal energy is coming through more. It's like taking over people's hearts. They're moved by the level of response. So that's good. I'm glad to see the star card. The healing is there. So Tuesday healing. That's what I got.
I love the star card. It's one of my favorite cards.
Me too.
Number 17, the
Yep.
plan to save the world. And yes, I still believe that there's a plan to save the world. So Like, you can get the hell off. I don't even want to hear it. If you're a black pillar, a doomsdayer, we're all gonna die. You can just do
Stop
10
manifesting that.
do 10 backflips in the other direction. I don't
Yep.
want to hear it. I don't want to see it. If you have accepted your defeat, that is completely on you. Don't bother the rest of us while we are actually trying to have, productive discourse. We're trying to rally people together. We're trying to have productive conversations. Go be a doomer somewhere else. Thank you. Okay, so this is what I got. So I have the Knight of Cups. Isn't this
Ooh,
beautiful?
yes.
So yes, Knight of Cups, Two of Pentacles, and
Yes.
when we use specific cards, I'm sorry, specific decks, like I would really encourage people to start looking at their tarot decks as if they are almost like they're very specific. Like they're almost like they have their own personalities, they have their own languages. And so the Two of Pentacles from this deck can really have its very own essence as compared to the Two of Pentacles from another deck. And so this looks like a tree that has been scorched. You see there's
Totally.
fire behind it. And
Wow.
it's but and I've actually seen images coming out from the island of trees that have survived, actually, like old big grandma trees that have managed to withstand it and they're still there. And then we have the Six of Cups, which is amazing.
That's a
So
cute one too. Good
isn't this
art on
good?
that one. Yeah, I like that one.
And I think that this is in line with what you got with the star, is
Right.
that in times of crisis, you really do see people come together, and it's like really the best and worst is brought out of people
Yes.
when you have nothing else. So and again, I'm really drawn to the idea that these fires, when you think about the recovery process or the rebuilding process, uh, you know, the powers that be really have this wild idea. I shouldn't even call them powers that be, the cabal, the death cult, the military industrial complex, these like fuckos, pardon my language. They have this wild idea that can somehow wrangle the individual free will of billions of people. This is a testament to their arrogance, their desperation, and their cowardice, is that they're willing to do anything. They're like, we just have to keep the show has to go on. The agenda, we have to do this. We're on a schedule. They are on a schedule. They think that they can actually wrangle human consciousness successfully. And in some cases they can, but in most cases they cannot, because free will and the immortal soul of the human being is indomitable. It is indomitable. So they're not going to be successful at dampening the human condition, which is to help one another when we are suffering. So they're not going to they can't plan for that because they don't have that. It's all about projection. They think we're going to flip out and act like zombies and psychos because that's what they would do in crisis. They wouldn't help each other. They would throw each other under the bus. It's a testament to how disconnected from reality these people actually are. This group, this agenda, it's so misguided. Like they're just so wrong. But anyways, I think that the recovery process and the rebuilding process all across the board from the impending destruction, because there will probably be more of this, I actually think that the fire displaces Earth,
Hmm.
and also water events displace Earth and uncover things that were buried,
Hmm.
things that were hidden. And so you start to see things come up. You're like, oh my God, like you see it's like it's revealed. Earthquakes reveal things,
Yeah.
fires reveal things, water, things in a tidal wave, for example, things wash up on the shore for weeks after. We're like, holy shit, we didn't even know that was in the ocean. It's like, so with the bad comes this great revealing.
Right.
And as far as keywords that are coming up in the collective on Tuesday, I have double agent, the double agent card.
Oh,
Tone it down, stay calm,
Yeah.
high risk, high reward, and caution. And then we have the runes for day, increase, growth, and awakening, and the rune for fire, warmth, power, and energy.
Yeah.
So the double agent, I think we're going to see some real audacity on the part of some bad actors trying to keep the narrative copacetic.
Mhm.
So look out for bad actors and people that are pretending to represent the people.
Yeah.
But you guys already know that. That shouldn't be shocking at all. Bad actors are everywhere. That's how you make a movie.
Yeah. They're the only ones who think they're good enough to be the actor.
You know, I was thinking, and everybody here has probably seen The Matrix, but remember like that the like the Judas character, Cypher, his name was Cypher, and he was like one of them. He was supposed to be part of the team, and then he turned on everybody like a Judas. And so he's sitting with Agent Smith, and they're in some beautiful restaurant, and Cypher says he like cuts a piece of his steak, and he's like, the mate, you know, my brain tells me that this is delicious and, you know, great, but I know that it's nothing. It's the Matrix. And he's trying to like, he's making a deal with the agent. He's like, I don't want to remember anything, and I want to be somebody important, like an actor. And it all clicked. And I was like, the bad actors that we see on a world stage, to some degree they are initiated, and there is a level of knowing that they chose to turn their back on so that they could front this agenda, so that they could be part of it, and they made some kind of a deal with that antichrist or that devil archetype or whatever is representative of control and deception on humanity. So it just occurred to me, like, these bad actors, they're not accidentally there. Like, they chose the Judas archetype. That's their path. So we got to just, you know, I'm not saying beware, be cautious. I'm just saying, you know, it's just knowledge. It's just more information.
It's so funny that you bring him up because I was thinking about the Last Supper painting where, you know, it's Christ is in the middle and then we have all of these dudes on the table, and there's been a lot of breakdowns of like that's the astrological signs and these are
Yeah.
all these different themes and so on. But for me, I was just kind of thinking like homie just brought together potentially all these families and like all these heads of families and gangs and all of this together potentially for this supper. It was just like, let's eat together. And they could, because the space that Christ was holding as the, you know, center guest, like allowed for all of the children again to sit together. And despite
Wow.
their differences, despite what families they represented. And it just kind of hit me today. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. I really like that. And so if this character, this being is real in a personhood, like they're going to walk the earth again, it's like even these people, it's like, did they know that this person was going to come back and that they took this role to like serve as the antagonizer, and they're getting some type of spiritual, you know, up, like they're getting their own spiritual growth out of this. And there is like that
Yeah.
path that I'm not there, so I don't get it. Like that's not the one I picked. And
Right.
I'm like, are we all just gonna sit down and this and have this supper again? Like, is there gonna be that point again where everyone feels safe to just sit together and eat together and be together? And I'm hoping that that is the case. And like, we're just watching the process of all the beings who literally can't do that, just having to go away because they're
Yes.
just not in resonance with this new hologram or whatever that's going to populate for us, like where we're all going to be even closer and more, I don't know, brothers and sisters instead of competing corporate uh agents or whatever. And
Scarcity
have,
mentality.
yeah, I'm wondering about that. And your cards are definitely interesting, like even the Six of Cups coming in, where it was like we're kind of bringing back that history and that like being together as children and playing and being in a good vibe from your past. And It's funny because it is like, again, the biblical stuff comes up a lot with the like saving the world. And I didn't get a full biblical raising. So when I just like hear things and I get little sentences and pictures and like the art from the like those times, like you see the art and then you think about it again, you're like, oh, I'm seeing this whole new thing. And one of the things in the artwork I was seeing was potentially the last painting done by Da Vinci, I think was it, and it was Christ holding us an orb, a clear orb, and it was just like a picture of him and he's just holding this orb and it's clear.
Oh,
And blue orbs have been a theme a little lately, especially because we're like on the blue marble, our planet, but lately everywhere I'm seeing pictures of this
fear.
orb being held by like, a goddess, or like it's a picture of a goddess and there's the orb and like it's always clear. And I was like, okay, something is happening. I'm getting a message about a clear orb. And it's cool because it's like, it's clear, like you can see through it. There's no trickery, there's no distortion of the light. It's really just this object, but it's full clarity. And so purity, there's no like color distortions or even like racial issues. Like it's clear, it's see-through, it'll be what color you put it in front of, like it'll be a part of what you put it on. It doesn't have its own, I don't know,
It's
distinguishing.
reflective. It's
Yeah,
reflective.
it's reflective too, and it gives off this like clear energy, this clear light. And I'm not sure why I'm bringing that up right now, but it just kind of feels like there is what I truly want is clarity. I want this clarity and I want
Yeah.
feelings of safety and security, and also this biblical feeling to like that I'm experiencing, to just kind of be shown that I'm feeling this level of hope and trust that I've never felt before about the potential for our planet to go into this golden age time where we're going to be sitting at that table together and everyone's going to be forgiven. Like there's going to be not even any status about how terrible you were in your past because it'll be forgiven. And it's like, that's gone. Like you don't get to think yourself something unforgivable because you've been forgiven. And I've just been hearing that a lot. It's like, it just kind of takes and breaks apart that status that maybe people feel like are gaining through doing not great things. And like my not great thing is more intense than your not great thing. So I have some status over you. And then in the opposite side, like, oh, I do all these amazing things. And it's like we're all getting like leveled out.
Like yeah, like back to baseline. I could
Yeah.
see that.
There's a new thing that like there's going to be a new thing we want to classify ourselves with, or like
Yes.
position around, instead of, well, how we're dealing with it right now. And that's all kind of falling apart, especially with money and land. And it's great because I don't believe anyone can own land. I don't believe that makes any sense. I don't believe in ownership really at all. It's
Right,
just,
like we're borrowing it. It's like we're
yeah.
using it, but it's not really, it's not any more mine than yours. And I mean, they say, well, I paid for it, and it's like, well, with what? Like fake money from Babylonian money magic? Like, get the hell out of here, Like there is enough to go around. The scarcity mentality, I think, is like
That's the problem.
probably the biggest culprit, is the idea that there's just not enough to go around.
Right.
Um, I have a video I made years ago called 5D machines or something like that, and you can find it. But
Okay,
um,
nice.
it was like how Trump. So I saw President Trump as a physical avatar, like his physical avatar, the person that we see as President Donald J. Trump, is actually like a physical manifestation of a 5D mechanism. And this is why, and when you bring up the sphere, the clear sphere, the sphere is very sensitive to what you are projecting into it, like a color. And
Yeah.
if it's it's a highly reflective surface. And so my whole thing was like, Trump is like Trump was the sphere, and he was sort of the catalyst energy
Wow.
that, what it did was it changed everybody. It was like who you were deep down was going to be part of your ability to perceive what he truly is and what this whole thing was about. And so if you had severe daddy issues, or you had issues with authority, or if you were triggered by anything, you
Right.
were going to have to face that, because that's the sphere and that's what you see. Whatever you are, you will see in this mechanism. And so it was really, it doesn't make you bad, it doesn't make you good, it's just information. And now what is required is enough sort of spiritual maturity
Mm.
to take a step back and say, am I being a big baby? Do I need to get over it? Do I need to heal? Do I need to rectify something, reconcile something? But the idea was that depending who you were as an individual person, as a soul, Trump and the Great Awakening was this catalyst sphere to where who you are, where you're at spiritually, that is exactly what you would perceive by staring into this sphere.
Nice.
And do you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
that's why he is so, he absolutely started, I mean, the polarization, he reflected our consciousness. We all thought, it's like, oh, he made everybody polarized. No, he didn't. He brought to our attention how messed up we are. It's always been there. He just had us see ourselves, in our in the collective reflection. And like, maybe I think he's an actor too. I'm not gonna, like, to the degree that he is initiated and he knows more of what he's letting off, in that sense.
Yeah.
um so
Well,
that's,
maybe he's not even real, like you're saying, a machine, or like we can just project onto it, but it doesn't feel us, so it can continue going along with what it's programmed to do. Because I physically went to a couple of the whatevers, the rallies, and I was just looking
Wally's,
at
yeah.
this thing and I was like, that guy's not there. Like,
Same.
he's not really there. Like, well, there's nothing there. Like, it was cute because he's in
So
a
funny.
full suit and it was so hot. And I was just watching him go about the movements like nothing. And I was like, that's
Wow.
impossible. Like, homie's not even sweating. Like, so it's
It's
cool.
like the avatar, it's like, yeah, his avatar is a reflective surface. He is a living, breathing machine. He's I'm not saying he's a robot. I just believe that, like, he was chosen for this role. Everything from the way that he looks to the way that he sounds, the solar energy, it's catalyst energy for the Great Awakening.
It was.
Uh, Big time. And I hope, personally, I hope he comes back. I don't think he ever really left. Um,
Right.
I think that the office of the presidency is no more. I think that this whole thing in part served to reveal that our election system is corrupt and rigged, and that we're really going to have to do our own thing now. It's sink or swim, I feel like.
Well, that was a bit of the rumor that I got that same day, that of the Maui experience, was that something along that was being also dealt with that day. So it was kind of that mixed feeling, like, ooh, that might have been happening at the same time. But I'm grateful that I think also we're being desensitized. Like, when they do this, it's to desensitize us to like do something else. So maybe even by Tuesday, there'll be that announcement and it'll be like, we'll already have been traumatized a little bit, so we won't react as
Yeah,
heavily.
yeah,
So, I mean, we're so cute. Like, they literally can compare our behavior to like rats and bunnies and fish. Like, and we all do the same things when
yeah.
the stimuli comes in a certain way. Like, we're very cute and simple, and
They know
that
what we're gonna do.
yeah, they know how we're gonna react. But then there's the light also, like the wise ones who are like, listen, we've seen this before and this is also what we're thinking. Like, here's some sort of out exterior thought, and like add it to the pile. Like, we're not going to say we're right, but just add it to the schema that you're creating in your own experience from witnessing this. And also expand your resources. Like, if you're only realizing you're getting your news from Twitter, get it from somewhere else at the same time, and like start expanding where you're getting information from so you can get a variety of perspective and not get, led along like a lemming. Like, just stop letting yourself get led into an emotional reaction. Stop letting yourself getting led into arguing about circumstances of a thing you never were there to witness. Like, if you can't see it, smell it, feel it, if you aren't physically there, then you really are going to have a lack of awareness about what's going on. And like, to claim when you never were, you're gonna cause problems, like, and this is people's lives, like, this is serious, like, it's not even funny, there's no like just hearsay, it's like you got to tiptoe around this one for sure. And I
Yeah,
never want to like offend anybody who really got hurt, because
me
that's what I
neither.
came here to the earth to help with, was to be of
Right.
service to whatever was a necessary need, like just see a need and fill a need. And if it was happening in my neighborhood, I'd be there barehanded, like helping right away, no problem. And that's what I think is happening on the island. I'm watching people even drive their boats up to the shore with supplies around the blockades and stuff to just like hand
Yeah,
stuff off boats to people, because the people there just can't, they won't let themselves be fully bossed around, is one feeling that
I
I
love
got.
it.
And
Yeah, they're like
it's
cute.
almost like I can tell they're trying to get everybody out of the location, but there's people who are stubbornly squatting in the location, and they're like now getting their friends to give them supplies to continue
Yeah,
squatting in the location. So the battle's not over. Like, it's not going to be simple. This
right.
isn't a simple one. As much as they're trying to simplify it, I feel like it's not going to be simple, which is great. And that's the human spirit. Like,
Oh yeah, very complex.
we're here.
It's never a thing.
So I'm
Um,
excited to see how it develops, and like the strength it maybe will bring back to the momentum for like their rights and like human rights, and the shifts that they've been wanting as a community. Like, they're also that momentum to like deal with that. And it's like that void has created that potential for some of these issues to get really vocalized and like for people to care, which is cool.
yeah, because you never know. You really never know how tough you are until you
Yep.
have no choice, until you literally have to. And you made a really great point about, um, exposing yourself to various types of news outlets. It's easy to get, caught up in the scrolling, and it's like, okay, well, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you're getting the same news that everybody freaking else is getting.
Yeah.
And this past year, I've really felt called to pay a lot more attention to natural news from places like India, places like deep Asia, deep in the Asian continent,
Good.
where, they don't really have TikTok. I mean, they might, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm just ear to the ground about natural occurrences, the trees behaving differently, the water behaving differently,
Hmm.
and you're huge on, like, your thing is space weather,
Hmm.
and the Schumann resonance, and so, like, it's not separate, like, they are they're sort of mirroring each other. So, it's a lot of folks are, they're very into the political dog and pony show. I almost can't stomach it anymore, between the details of he said, she said. I'm just like, you're all boring to me, you're all tacky, you're all fake. But there are people that handle the political side of it, and that's great, that's their path.
Hmm.
But for me, I feel so guided to, like, the waters of the earth, and,
Yeah.
the waters beneath us, the waters above us. Like, it's like, listen, like, all of the water molecules on planet earth are subject to the changing harmonics, and we have water inside our body. So, like, we've all seen what happens to water molecules when it's put under a very specific frequency. And if there are, battles right now, attempting to dominate our field, our force field. So, who is going to have a stronger influence on the harmonics here? Is it going to be the military industrial complex? Is it going to be planet Earth herself? Who is going to win in the field, the quantum field? Who's going to have influence over the waters of the planet and the waters within the people? And, maybe that's why they took my video down for medical disinformation, because
Be
I've been trying to,
careful. I was like, wait, stop.
wait, hold on, shush. Yeah, harmonics, you guys.
I
Your
see.
body wants to what's the word? Calibrate. It wants to calibrate itself. It wants to do like a tuning fork, has the ability to pull everything around it into its frequency. And so if they're blasting some kind of synthetic, distorted harmonic frequency, our molecules in our body are going to be distorted and weird and and I think that's what this thing was meant to do, is to attune us to their, whatever that malevolent weaponry is. But the earth herself is trying to pull us back. I mean, maybe she's not, maybe she's indifferent, maybe she doesn't care. I think she cares. If
I
we
do. I
care
think
about her, she cares about us. And in that way, I really do think humans are, for the most part, missing this symbiotic relationship between us and the great plant, the great mother.
yeah.
um but she's just, I just feel her calling to people to remember who and what we are,
Yes.
um, in the wake of all this. And it's like, watch, look at what the waters are doing, look at what the mountains are doing, listen, you know, listen to the trees. I know I sound like a real kook, but you guys, like, the trees have data in them the way that a computer stores data. So like they remember everything. Everything is stored. So, the idea, they're trying to tell us we need their AI, we need their 15-minute cities, we need their digital currency, their centralized this and that. We already have that on planet Earth. There is another way. So, yeah.
Yes, it's redundant to digitize something that's already happening. It's the
Exactly. And
waste of time.
expensive.
I agree. I also
But,
think that, I mean, I was just recently finally got to go in the ocean for the first time in many years. And I was going to just like not bathe until I could go back as a protest, but it didn't work out for my sanity. I couldn't quite do that, but
oh my God, no,
it's
girl.
on
No.
the list where I'm like, okay, I really feel like I had to go back because it reset my hardware in a way that just nothing else can. There's just nothing else that can compare
Salt
to
water.
submerging in the ocean. It just changes you. And I was like, this is the health. Like if I'm seeking healthy life, I have to live here to be my healthiest, because that's where I perform the healthiest. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's different for everyone, but that's true. And I was watching again, I was watching the water and I was watching the nature. And it's better if you live in a place more than a year, because then you can watch the migrational patterns and the hatchings of all the bugs. And because everything only lasts a couple weeks with them. And like even the
Yeah.
animals, they go through their birthing cycles and their migration cycles. And I want to see how it's been changing and behaving. And I mean, the water here changed. It's the driest the Sonoran Desert has been since the year I was born 30 years ago. So it was just like very
Where do you live?
bizarre. And everyone's like, where's the water? And it's flooding and over raining in areas in Asia and so on, like you've been watching.
Yeah.
And all I've been getting over and over again is also the migrational fish, like they go up and down, and the riverways and of our North America, all of America, basically this whole chunk of landmass from north to south, like the riverways were so important and were traveled by our people and fished by our people and connected our people for so long. And then this control structure and all these blockades and blockages and so on are being put in place, and it's not helping anybody, in my opinion. It makes no sense to me why even Gaia allowed that stuff to happen, like why she wouldn't just move around it or do something. And I'm assuming she did, but I feel like that's another thing that we're supposed to watch, and like it is going to change and we have to bring that back, or consciously choose to bring that back, like that flow of the water, at least on the surface too, like underneath and all the underground oceans and rivers and so on too. Like those are just as important, but not as much a travel area for our food per se.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking
Mm-hmm.
more about fish and us being able to feed ourselves
Mm-hmm.
still and the natural like whatever platelets or white blood cells or whatever that would be considered, like whatever nutrients in the blood of our world that we can live off of. And I just want to renaturalize us. And I feel like that is going to be possible soon. And I'm not even sure how, as we also have this net of satellites going up and around our planet, but maybe that net will free up our area from all of this infrastructure, and that can just be taken away. We don't need all this other infrastructure and like dams and so on creating electricity. Like you don't need that anymore, like those sort of things. So I'm curious, but I really feel like it has to be soon. Like we're gonna have to make these choices more soon than ever. And there, and even the tribal rights and so on all of reservations and so on, like the tribal leaders and like the tribal governments and so on, they're all rising up in consciousness too, and they're all getting in better communications because of the technology. Like they can talk to each other more, and they're organizing more, and the land that they were pushed off of but they want to buy back and like get back to it. All of that, like people, I don't even think, like all of us city born kids, like a lot of us don't know about what's going on with that whole side of the governments too, and all of these treaties that were not upheld, and like these contracts and so on that were not followed through on property. Like there is some sort of thing that's going to have to make you follow through on like on that stuff. And I've been feeling that a lot. Like these contracts are coming up and they're being fulfilled, and at whatever nature wants it to, or like some sort of karmic law or something. I'm curious. So keep an eye out for that kind of activity also in your area. Definitely get on the side of those, like trying to rewild the world and make things more fair, because it'll work out better that way, I think, for you. If you get on that team.
Oh, yeah. Get on, be one of the good people, not because you're afraid of the consequences, but because it's just the way to be, and you'll live a happier life if you're not a shit to people and to the world around you. That is my distilled philosophy after years of doing this kind of work, is do not be a shit. How about that? So I believe that there are guardians of this planet.
Yeah.
That simply cannot, will not allow for certain things to happen. An example would be when unfreeze. Unfreeze. When NORAD or similar organizations are attempting to work on their nuclear capabilities, and we just had this Oppenheimer movie, Barbenheimer, which there's no accident. Okay, that was total programming. I haven't seen either video. No hate, no shade. If you liked it, you liked it. I don't care. I really don't give a shit. But the idea is that there are guardians. There are literal contracts, transnational, supranational, multi-planetary contracts that do not, humans and the military industrial complex, the ancient death cults, they are only allowed to do so much. We are not the only creatures that live on this planet. We're not even the only humanoids that inhabit this planet. So while, the death cults, the billionaires, all of these sick people are attempting to hoard resources, monopolize water, monopolize seeds and food, they may be completely ignorant or not care, or they could have arrogance. There is any reason, there's a million reasons why they do what they do. I think a lot of them are inbred too, to be honest with you. I think they're like not functioning fully on like not all cylinders are firing properly. But why do they shut off and reconfigure the internal computer, these top secret nuclear devices, or these nuclear computers, because you can't do that. Because you can't do that. That's why. Not allowed to do that. And so,
Right.
you know, the CERN, the Hadron Collider, and the idea that the ancient death cults are going to recreate and bring back online some kind of a network and allow certain portals to be opened so they can basically open the gates of hell to allow all of these terrible things to flood through and feed on men, women, and children and enslave us. You know, that's a good idea, you guys. Like, nice fucking try, but you can't do that because that completely disrupts the balance. And I believe that there are guardians of this planet. They might not be on humanity's side, but they're here to instill a neutrality. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? They might not really give a shit about us. They might look at us like, oh, they're ruining everything. We don't care. But it's not about the people. It's not about the surface population. It's
No.
about the balance. It is about the balance. And I think that the ancient death cults, the people that are trying to pull this off, I think that they have bitten off way more than they can chew. I think they are just wildly out of their league. And I think that there are guardians that are, you know, they're capable. They do it all the time. They're like, nope, no, you don't. Sit down, like kindergartners. So, and this might all be a painful, exciting, tragic, exhilarating exercise in remembering all of this information and coming to terms with it so that we can like more intelligently navigate the future. But fear and worry definitely never helped anything. So
Yeah, we're not about that. And guardians, they have no fear. So,
no, they don't. They don't have any fear. The fear, what do they have to be afraid of? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the death cults, like they use death to scare people. They're like, you're gonna die. And Catherine Austin Fitz, I've been talking about her a lot because I'm like,
mm,
I've been binging all of her content. She has a Solari report, fascinating stuff. She used to be President Bush's like master of coin. So she was like on the inside. And now she's like, you guys, like, don't
yes.
fear death. Fear the integrity of your immortal soul because that's what this game is on for. It is the ability to control and enslave something that really, you know, the immortal soul should never be enslaved. And they can't do it without your help. They can't do it without your consent. Um, so that's why you got to be, just don't be a shit. Just don't be a shit.
Yes, it's the self-policing that is the only convincing factor. It's like you're convincing yourself to police yourself away from certain things, but you're the infinite creator in motion. Like, you don't need to police yourself the same way. Like, you will be policed. Like, there, if you when you are in the wrong direction, you'll definitely get redirected. And don't
Yeah.
fight it. Don't fight that. Don't, you can throw a fit, but it's not worth it. Like, be
Oh,
grateful.
you're just making it harder for yourself. You're
Yeah.
just like, go with the flow. I had a dream, a very like vivid, real experience. It was just a dream. I was I was being carried by a giant eagle, like from Lord of the Rings, you know, at
Yeah.
the end, like the big, huge eagles. And this eagle had me and swooped down with me in its talons and dropped me into a deep, freezing cold white river. And it spoke to me telepathically and said, don't fight or you'll drown. And I remember hitting the water and I was like, you know, like it was like when you really are submerged in an ice bath. Like I felt it and I was head to toe, cellular, excited. There was no doom, there was no terror, there was no this is the end. It was get excited, don't fight it, and roll with it, let it take you.
Wow.
And yeah, and so it's like, you know, anything where we're feeling, and this goes for anything and everything in your life where you're feeling resistance, that is going, you know, in the coming weeks, months, years, it is going to call you to face it because I really think we're all being asked to, you know, get right with the self so that when we peer into that sphere, we experience the most pure reflection of the true soul. The soul isn't tainted. I don't listen to what a lot of the fundamentalist fake religious people talk about sin and stain and this and that. And it's like,
Ugh.
no, I can't like miss me with that bullshit. That's people projecting their own guilt and shame and all that stuff. So it's like you're fine. You are loved. You are fine. You are God experiencing itself. Forgive yourself first and foremost. Hell is a state of consciousness where you cannot rise above your guilt and your shame and oh my God. Like, yeah, you're gonna torture yourself for eternity for sure, but it's not gonna be the devil, it's not gonna be God. So now I'm
Man, you
just
make
going,
yourself so useless when you do that. Like you're not helping anybody, you're not giving
no.
anything out, you're not smiling. It's like you've become inert. So it's like you're gonna decompose if you don't
Yeah,
start participating again. Yeah. Do better next time.
do better. Yeah, you guys just do better.
Yeah.
So, do you want to pull a card for everybody? Um, I feel like we should do one in closing. I don't really, I
Yes.
have no, whatever you want to do.
I'll grab a fun something for the closing card. Who do I want to work with? I'm gonna work with the unicorns. Yay.
Love the
Well,
unicorns.
that'll work. All right. Oh, it's gonna key out. Never mind. You guys, Doreen Virtue doesn't want you knowing about her decks anyways. Don't talk about her. She'll get mad.
Really?
Yeah, she like renounced her all her work and
How
because it's
sad is that? That pissed me off, man. It's like, oh, Doreen.
but they're so godly, like it makes
Oh,
me
they're
feel close to
amazing.
God. That's what she wanted the whole time.
Hey, everybody's path, to each their own. It is what it is. Thank you. I still say thank you, Doreen, for paving the way. So what are we asking?
I guess what's our wrap up for this video today and this, really sacred conversation we had. Like this was a powerful container. We
This was fun.
mamas, we care. Like we care.
I give a shit.
We do care and we have genuine love in our hearts and we want to be there to support and love on whoever needs a little extra. So that's why I do my videos is just being like,
It's your
spread the love.
service. It's your service. It is your beacon. And, I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. I love working with Alexis. She and I just we have a good, I think we have a good chemistry and we really have a good, healthy, like understanding. She happens to be a really great like space holder and listener, and I'm a Gemini and I love to just yep, 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 yep. And she's so patient with me and she lets me go off and I appreciate that so much.
Well, I mean, and we're both in like the community of people who speak out, who are talking about these dark topics constantly and like working through them. I know exactly all the stuff you're going to be saying. I heard everything you said and was like, yep, that's resonating with me. I've had many of these conversations and it's clear. It's clarity. Like the orb is clear with you. Like I can see exactly what you're trying to say.
I love it. All right. What'd you get? I've got some jumpers. Damn.
Ooh, okay, I got one for all of us, and it says forgive. Little
Yeah.
baby girl and her unicorn, and it's time to let
Aw.
go of anger or blame. Yeah, and they're on the beach again, so
I'm not ready to let go of anger and blame. Damn it.
uh-oh. Well,
I'm just kidding.
get your unicorn right. You got to get your unicorn and pet it and hold it, and then you'll be like, okay,
Aw.
that's what I
What
get.
I wouldn't do to cradle a baby unicorn. Oh my
Well,
God.
you'll be like, I can forgive now. If this is what I
Yeah.
get for being good, all right.
Oh, that's a
Yes,
sweet visual.
that's good. I like
So I like that forgiveness. So these are for you guys listening. I wanted this to be like a message to whomever is tuning in. This is what you are gonna want to hear. Like this is for you. I've got the Four of Cups. I'm using the tarot tutorial deck. Alexis is the one who put me on this deck. I've never looked back. They're falling apart.
Yeah.
They're like, so, because I just can't. I don't know about you, but like, I guess my hands are just like, I don't know. I've got like dirty, oily hands or something, but my cards smell like money. Like they smell like my cards at this point smell like a wad of cash.
They
They're
are.
like, they're like sweaty and smell like dollar bills, y'all. So Four of Cups, Three of Pentacles, and the Hanged Man.
Oh,
So, and this could be a very, very specific message for those tuned into this right now. But what I'm getting is that within the team, all right, if to those of you listening, if you are currently working with a small group of people, it could be 3 people, it could be a very small community of 10 people, 12 people, it could be 50 people, but these are small communities that typically like under good circumstances they collaborate together, they help each other, they build together. But with the Four of Cups and the Hanged Man, I'm under the impression that in the company today, or when this message reaches you, over the course of the next several days and possibly like the next 12 days, actually, that's what I'm getting, a 12-day period. Do not allow yourself to miss out on an opportunity. There's a lot here about that feeling of missing out, oh, I should have said this, or oh, dang, I wish I would have presented this in this way at this time. And, I feel like people could be under the weather right now. Four of Cups comes up a lot when people are dealing with things like stagnation, depression, if you're dealing with an illness or drama or issues, external issues, that fight or flight response is, that comes up for everybody. You might be feeling that that's where you don't act, you freeze, the freeze response. So some of us, some of you, whomever's listening, you may feel very sort of baited into the freeze response in the coming days, in the coming 12 days or so. You obviously do whatever you feel you have to do. If you have to rest, then you rest. But what I don't want to happen is this feeling of I became so apathetic and I became so stagnant or so afraid to speak up or do this thing that I missed this opportunity, at least this time around. And now you may have to wait for the next cycle, for the next opportunity. And you just don't want, dealing with regret is like so nasty. Regret is like up there with like shame and guilt, as far as like just emotions that drag you down to a place of, like you said, like you're inert. Now you're not helping anybody. So take the opportunities to fight that apathy, fight that feeling of, well, nobody's going to listen to me, nobody cares what I have to say. No, put it out there, put it out there. And also support your lymphatic system. Anytime I have a lot of water energy coming up in the cards, and you and I were talking about this a lot, the lymphatic system is under a lot of pressure, I think, for a lot of people right now. I was talking to another girlfriend of mine, and we were talking about bras and how bras are like a conspiracy to like harm women because it totally impedes lymphatic drainage. I'm only wearing a bra now because trust me, you don't want me to not wear a bra. I mean, some of you might, but
I'll just keep the camera up here and next time. Just zoom it in.
Or just wear like a big, like a big jacket or something like that. But I hate bras. I think bras are terrible. Free the tatas, let your lymphatic system do what it wants to do naturally. Very important, because we're filtering a lot of nasty chemicals in the air and the food and everything. So support your system. But that's my message. Don't allow apathy to bait you into a freeze response in the coming 12 days. If you take rest where you need it, but jump back into the game because you are needed.
You are needed. You're here. You're functional. You're meant to be here. You're meant to function. And the Two of Coins also, the Two of Pentacles you got earlier with the tree on both sides and how it means kind of like balancing your home and your work life, your financial realm and so on. So it was interesting that came up for this reading too, like this video and the area that was in, it's like it is getting a major balancing, like they're juggling some stuff right now. So it's almost like a free opportunity too for us to like move that momentum for the whole world. Like, okay, let's rehash this. Let's rehash
Use
these
it.
issues.
Use
Yeah.
it.
Use this
If there's gonna
opportunity.
be, yeah, like never, the cabal never lets a good tragedy go to waste. Neither should we. Like, if
Agreed.
people are going to shed blood in this game, if they're going to make the ultimate sacrifice and, cross that threshold into of death into and return to source, let us bear witness to that and
Yes.
make something of it. It's this one thing that I think I call them the ancient death cults, because I hate calling them elite. They're not my elite. They're inbreds as far as I'm concerned. They're a bunch of freaking losers, a bunch of losers, but they are not accounting for what happens when the human heart is set ablaze by responsibility and
Mhm.
compassion, because they don't have that. They just don't have it. So yeah, that's what I think we should do. Easier said than done, I know, but
But this video was entirely designed to set your soul and your heart on fire, to feel purpose, to go out and be better now. Make better choices starting now, and you'll
don't be
be
a shit.
forgiven. And yeah, and if you witness those beings being that way, maybe you could perform a better option for them to finally be enlightened about another way to behave. But otherwise, don't give them any more of your time and attention if you don't need to. Move on, because there's a lot of wonderful people who, and young people too, who just need some sort of structure and some grounding from the elders too. So just keep doing, and someone is watching you at all times. Like, you're being watched at all times, but you're being watched more than maybe you realize, by those who are trying to emulate and become adults and like grow into their role as the guardians of this world. And I call my Patreon thing that I do every month the Guardian Training. And this month we're going to
That's
do a
right.
space weather class on the 18th. So that's in a few days, to train some more people who have been activated recently, because people just continually get activated with the solar explosions and so on. I get more and more like new people who are like, okay, I get it now. Like, tell me how to read this. And I'm like, okay, great. So I'm excited to teach that again on the 18th. If you're interested, you can go to my Patreon, Ascension Diaries, to do that sign up, or just message me and I'll get you in. Doesn't matter. And I'll post it later too. So it can be on for public stuff. Like I do most of my stuff. It's just like, here, go take it and go. Cause I'm already want to build the next thing. I'm moving. The Guardians don't have time. We're not like, oh, we just want to make sure we're making enough money on this product. It's like, no, that's not why we're here. Like,
Right. Set it and forget it. Move on to the next thing. Keep
exactly.
it moving.
Keep the
We're
flow
gonna post
moving. That's good for your lymph. Also, do your rebounder.
this.
I bought some POKE from Hawaii, actually, right before this happened, as a lymphatic drainage herbal. So if you haven't heard of that, maybe that's a little addition at the end there. But thank you all very much for coming to this video, and we hope you enjoyed it. Get yourself some cards if you haven't yet. Maybe write on your own. Make your own conversation a little, and your meditations a little bit more, I would say, out of the box, like out of your own mental box. It helps to kind of inject that spirit and like that fire and like sparks of inspiration from the outside of your own little mind prison that we can get stuck in. So yeah, I'm glad
Oh
we did
yeah.
this. Thank you.
Me too. Oh, thank you too. We hope you guys have had a wonderful time. Alexis and I plan on doing this again, certainly. We love our Tarot Tuesdays, no matter what day of the week that it is. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Glad we could do it. Um, so yeah, I guess until next time, Earthlings.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Bye.
Good. Don't be shit.
Indeed.